My fear is that people are going to steal my secrets, man. These are my secrets. This is how I become so good at sales.
And you're so big on AI. Tell us more about this. How did the whole thing happen?
I can prep for a call in 4 minutes and show up way more confident than I ever did, have my total framework in mind of how I want the conversation to go. And then post-call, automate the notes into the CRM.
Every day, I leave with the anxiety that, I've definitely forgotten to reply one of the emails.
I mean, it's scary, but it's amazing at the same time. Like I couldn't tell you, I almost was speechless on this call. I was like, oh my gosh.
All right, let's get started. I'm going to record your intro after the whole session is over, so we'll get right to it. All right. Welcome, Jim, to the show.
Awesome. Thanks, Raul. Happy to be here.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's a pleasure to have you. I'd like to maybe start with, if you could maybe give us a quick intro on where you work and what do you manage?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm currently an account manager in the commercial segment at PandaDoc. So of course, the whole mission of PandaDoc is being able to allow companies to create proposals and quotes and documents and agreements efficiently, on brand, and error-free. So I manage, post-sales, account management, renewals, expansion in the commercial segment, which is customers 201 to 500 employees.
That's amazing. I remember I found you through a LinkedIn post, and you're so big on AI. Tell us more about this. How did the whole thing happen?
Big on AI. That's funny. It's I've gotten proclaimed as the AI expert at PandaDoc, and I always put a little disclaimer. I know you and I talked about it. I was like, yeah, there's some imposter syndrome there. I'm not doing anything groundbreaking, but I'm not doing anything with like RAG, Python coding development. It is just a lot of prompting, but it's prompting to make my workflows more efficient. Ultimately, the goal is, get more agentic and work off of like calls that are on our calendar and be able to have the prompts do the work for us ahead of time. But right now, what's going on is more just like prompting, prep for calls, post-call automation, etc. And it really started after our SKO. I was leaving SKO, I think in early February, and got to the airport early to get on a customer call, and the customer didn't show. So I had like 3 hours of time. So I went meandering around the airport, and I found this book, which was like the light bulb moment, right? Like the AI Edge. And it was really imperative for me and how I thought about using AI. It's all the rave everywhere you look. And probably about a year and a half, close to 2 years ago, when I started at PandaDoc, I took a prompt engineering course to try and understand it more. Like, how can I best use this? And it was insightful, but I still didn't have a good idea of like, okay, where does it fit? And I think that's the challenge a lot of us face when looking at how do we use AI. And I see it even within our own org. It's just where to start. So this book really helped me understand, what parts of my day distract from the quote unquote golden hours of selling. And the assignments it has you do are really beneficial as far as, what's the most energy draining? What are some tasks that you can learn how to delegate to AI? And it just essentially gives you a framework for time auditing your day to understand, okay, what can I delete from my day? What can I delegate to AI? What can only I do that requires my specific expertise? And that's really where the jumping off point was. I started using it here and there. You see even on, I was just looking at Reddit, there was a sales community and they were talking about how you use AI in sales. And so many people are just using AI like to generate emails, right? Like copywriting. It's like, it can do so much more than that. And I'm telling you, it can help you level up your game. But that was really the light bulb moment for me was this book. And, happy to dive into how I built off of that and kind of where we're at now.
Fantastic. I mean, that's an interesting story. And I know we talked about this earlier, where we talked about how I'm a huge fan of Jeb Blount. I think he saved my career when I was an SDR. I still remember his quote from 2017 when I first read the book Fanatical Prospecting. I still have it somewhere in my desk. I remember he said, you got to have some golden hours. I think he has this principle I believe I like. He said, you need to make 5 dials before 7 a.m. and 5 dials after 5 p.m. And that kind of puts you an edge because you're going to make way more calls than all of your colleagues and you're going to have more connects and whatnot. So that I remember that one thing kind of changed my whole trajectory of career, and I can only imagine what this book will do for everybody. It's very interesting to learn about your light bulb moment because you probably stumble upon this book, or you probably were thinking about this consciously. Just walk me through, what was happening in that day-to-day life at that time before you're like, oh my God, now it's going to change forever.
Yeah, yeah. 2 words, admin work. Everyone everyone hates admin work, right? And there was a period in time, like last fall, I reached out to my team because I truly felt like I was just drowning in admin work. I think at the time, we were managing up to close to 300 accounts. So for an account manager, like, that's a ton of accounts.
Wow.
So to try and be strategic, to find the expansion plays, to do the outreach, to do the renewal cadences, have the, customer calls. I remember looking at my calendar one day and there was like 9 or 10 meetings. Just imagine what comes with pre-call research, post-call work, everything that you need to do in a day. And I was like, guys, I don't know if I'm just terrible at time management or like, does everyone else feel this too? And everyone was feeling it. So we were like waiting to find some ways to be more efficient. And again, that's like once this book hit, once I started getting more in tune with like the day-to-day usage of AI. And I think another great resource that has helped me was the Superhuman newsletter. I've gotten a lot of ideas from that. Um, that really was like the jumping off point where I was like, oh my gosh, I can prep for a call in 4 minutes and show up way more confident than I ever did, have my total framework in mind of how I want the conversation to go. And then post call, automate the notes into the CRM, take away that time. It was probably about a 60% reduction in like my time spent pre and post call, where I can simply focus on being strategic with my customers, right? That's the delegation piece. Hey, I need to do some of these activities, but the manual aspect of it, it doesn't require my direct expertise. So you build the prompt and you make it output what you want it to. And therefore, I can just push that manual effort onto AI and then do what I need to do strategically with the customer interactions, et cetera.
All right. So you thought, admin work was draining your energy and your time and whatnot. Do you think that's the case with all your colleagues, or did you just feel that that was for you?
It was definitely pretty widespread. We've definitely taken things outside of AI,
Mhm.
and we've definitely our leadership team has worked to shrink our book size so that gives us some more time too, where we can be more
Good.
strategically focused. But it was definitely across the board where just admin work and prep time was accounting for a lot of the lost time, and it's not like truly revenue impacting. So we wanted to reduce that time spent, and I did a month-long experiment with a Toggle app, and I tracked my time, like, real honest
I'm
with
sorry, what's that app name?
Toggle.
Toggle.
So it's just
Okay.
a time tracker. Yeah. So set up labels for, like, internal, revenue driving activities, admin work, personal breaks, anything that you can think of that you would do in a day, and I was real honest with myself. And at the end of the month, I just saw how much admin and internal time was being spent, and, like, expansion plays and, like, revenue driving activities were, like, middle to bottom. I was like, this is backwards. So then it just became, let's build upon this. Where can we increase the efficiencies? Where can we level up our game and reduce this admin time, but become better in the conversations with our customers?
That's amazing. All right. So within the admin work, I can imagine there's so many activities which could be delegated to AI. You mentioned prep call, you mentioned, post call. How did you decide that I want to delegate this to first? I mean, I know you kind of got the idea when you had this toggle app, but was there anything beyond the app which actually told you? Because within the app as well, you were able to realize, okay, I'm spending, let's say, 3 hours a day on the admin work. Within those 3 hours, how did you first decide? How did you prioritize?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was definitely jumping off point, but then from there, it's really just assessing, okay, I hate doing this. Like, that's truth. Like, look at your day and just think about, "Oh my gosh, I can't stand when I have to do this and it takes me away from doing XYZ." The first point of contention that I wanted to try and solve for was just my email inbox, right? Um I didn't do that through prompting, but, I hated hate's a strong word, but I truly did. I hated opening my inbox first thing in the morning and seeing, like, what emails were there, sifting through what needs response, what needs instant attention, etcetera. So I just found a tool, and again, through Superhuman newsletter, like, they give lists of tools every week to explore that are AI related. And I found a tool called Fixer, and it is a amazing executive email assistant that categorizes your inbox instantly, puts things into category to respond. If it is to respond, it generates the response based on like what you prompt it. You can definitely get real configurable and with your tone,
Hmm.
how you want to respond to things. Like for me, it's like if it's a technical question, direct them to support. If it's something I can answer straightforward, give them a quick resource. And it does all of these things. And the responses are, pretty spot on. I would say 75 to 80% of the time, I just use those responses. The other part, like I need to intervene a little bit. But then there's just nice things about it that it's like, this is just an FYI, and it just goes into my FYI. So it's like, I come into my email box now. It's like maybe there's 2 emails that need response. There's already a draft there. So like instead of taking an hour and a half, 2 hours to sort through, look up at the count, look up, it's done. So it's like that starts my day on a positive note, and then we just keep building momentum. It's like little wins throughout the day that make a huge win at the end of the day. So that I close my computer, I'm done. I can go be present with my family. I'm not thinking about work. I'm not thinking about having to catch up tomorrow.
I love this. I mean, I seriously love this when you said that, because this is exactly what I'm facing right now. I mean, I manage 3 inboxes because I have one business and we have second business, and that business now is a new business, the name change. So we're in the middle of the transition of the third inbox. So you can imagine 3 inboxes. It's just crazy. And every day I leave with the anxiety that, I've definitely forgotten
Yeah.
to reply one of the emails.
It's inbox anxiety, man. It's a real thing. Like it is a real thing. And I had it, and Fixer has truly like solved it for me.
Yeah, I think I've tried it. I'm just still not sure whether to go with Pixar or something similar, because there's just so many and so many choices. You
Yeah.
must, you
And
must have.
things change so quickly. Like that's what's crazy about AI too. It's like when I first started doing just the prompting that I was doing, I thought it was so efficient. And then I was talking to somebody else and like, oh, you're doing a lot of copy pasting. I'm like, yeah, I am, but like it still saves me time. Like you could do it this way. And then, in a month from now, you can do it better this way. It's fun to try and keep up with.
Awesome. Tell me more about. I mean, because you said you started with the prompting. Tell us, how did you initially fixed a small batch of problem using just the prompting?
Yeah. So I think again, when people look at like where to start with AI, obviously what you put in is, indicative of what you're going to get out. So it's really important to have a good solid prompt. So I think that's a big point of friction when people first start using it. Again, luckily for me, I think part of becoming more um what's the word I'm looking for? Becoming more adept with
Hmm.
AI, you have to be resourceful. So, like this Superhuman newsletter that is only the only newsletter I ever read every single day. I found a prompt in there, so credit to Superhuman, that was like, "Hey, set it up as a prompt engineer and build me a prompt." So what that allowed me to do is take any manual process that I wanted to build into a prompt and then save it as a custom GPT and just work backwards. So that's how I've approached any manual aspect that I want to eliminate and delegate to AI is there's a specific prompt that is a prompt engineer that I just work backwards with. And it was ironic because I think a few days before we were recording this, there was a clip of the NVIDIA CEO at a conference. I don't know when it was, talking about AI being the great equalizer. And it's like, yeah, 100%. And even he says, like, if you don't know where to start, ask AI. And like, that's the whole thing I'm trying to get across to people is like, if you don't know, just ask AI. Who knows better how to prompt AI than AI? So that's like the jumping off point for anybody. And that prompt is available on Superhuman. I have it available if you'd like to see it. It's great. If you have a distinct like workflow that you want to try and build into a prompt, use that, work backwards. It'll ask you clarifying questions. What are your goals? What do you want to accomplish? How do you want this to set up? What's the format? And you just work backwards. I mean, I've had hour-long conversations with AI to try and build like the appropriate prompt. And it's fun. And what's fun is when I see other teammates who've started building their own gems now because they have this, it's just an exciting time. It is the great equalizer. You could go and be any expert in any field just by using AI. You have to use it smartly. You can't just blindly trust it, but like it is an equalizer, and it's an exciting time.
You mentioned that you have all these prompts somewhere, and everybody who's listening to this can get access to it. Is that right?
Yeah, so I put together some of my like most powerful prompts, including that prompt engineer one. I built a whole prompt library for our AM team to help with like negotiation tactics, building business cases, QBR value alignment decks. Some of those I've made accessible to the public. I've definitely made them generic enough so people can edit them for their own use cases. So I'd be happy to share that with your listeners.
That'll be amazing. Hope you're not stealing any of your secrets.
That's my fear. That's my fear. Like I definitely leveled up in terms of, how I show up for calls, but that's the beauty of this and what you're doing here, and why I wanted to be a part of it. Cause I think there's a lot of people who want to use AI, but don't know where to get started. And I want to be impactful in that sense and help enable those. Everyone can level up and be better at what they're doing. And it's exciting now at PandaDoc that I've seen so many of our reps start to adopt it. Our CSMs now built their own gem library too that I put into a site for them. So it's like we're building momentum.
That is super cool. One of the things I want to always check with people when I really admire and quality in them, which is, and I could see that's the whole reason I reached out to you, that you had this innate, I don't know, some quality which kind of makes you give what is working for you to others, right? And I'm pretty sure there would be other people who might want to do it, but don't do it for whatever reason. Why do you think you do it? Why do you think you want to share with other people?
I come from a sports background, and I think when you're part of a team and whatnot, you're always trying to help level up the players around you and working together. I think that's the main aspect. That's what kind of drives me. It's one thing to keep everything for yourself, but it's a little selfish. And I'm not a selfish person. I like to think of myself as relatively humble and like empowering others. So if I'm going to get better from something and you're on my team or not on your team, hey, sales is a tough job, man. Like it can be draining. It's an emotional roller coaster. Let's take some like brain power, lessen that bandwidth that you need to execute. And I think really like what it's done for me is made my work a lot lighter. And then that allows me to show up as a better person outside of work for my family. I truly think like it's been a big relief for me to have found AI and how much it's helped me. Like that's another aspect of it too. Like I want to make things lighter for people so that they can be more present outside of work.
That is a very noble thought. On that, I'd like to get into some actionable, thoughts here. You mentioned you created a prompt. You mentioned you can go to AI and say that, teach me how to prompt. Or of course, people can use your own prompt library. If you were to teach somebody, let's say right now, anybody who's watching this, what would be the, let's say, 2 or 3 steps they need to take? Maybe 5 steps.
I think the first step I would introduce is just doing a time audit. Just simply doing a time audit of your day. What's energy draining? Let's start there. Okay.
And you said
now that,
to use the tool Toggle. Sorry to break you.
not even Toggle. You can even just write it down. Like go through your day and just write it down. Like, I hate my inbox. I hate having to prepare these decks. You know what I mean? Like, I hate having to come up with like the framework of how I'm going to present this pricing. Like that's just draining. Write those things down. Okay. Now that we have these top 3 or 4 things that are draining to you, let's go to the prompt generator prompt. Let's work backwards. What's your goal? Okay. I have a value alignment deck. We have a lot of information that we need to put on this deck. We need to find news and insights from the company, about the company, their business objectives, their future plans, etc. Who are the top stakeholders? Their priorities. I don't want to spend time researching that on the internet. I don't want to go on Google. I don't want to click around. Let's make this as easy as possible. Here's the deck, AI. This is the format it needs to be in. How can I prompt you and instruct you and train you to give me the content I need to fill in this deck? Simple as that. And start from there. So I think that's it, is come up with what's draining, go to the prompt generator that generates prompt and acts as a prompt engineer. Work backwards. What are your goals? What do you want to accomplish? What knowledge does that prompt need to know what the output is? How does it need to output it? It's that simple. I promise everyone, it's that simple.
You mentioned how you became the AI guy at PandaDoc, right? Obviously, for that to happen, you had to become successful with AI yourself. And when you did that, you kind of had this whole sportsman thing where you wanted to, just help everybody, show
Mhm,
the teamwork, which is fantastic now.
mhm.
Tell me, why do you think, and I'm pretty sure you also speak to peers outside your organizations, right? Just to get a sense of why do you think you thought of it, and companies are not able to think about it. And I mean, not to take a dig at anybody, but just just curious.
Yeah, I think, it's funny. I've always kind of been, I don't wanna say lost. I've always been kind of like, what really drives me? What really makes me tick? What fills my bucket?" I've been doing sales for 15, 16 years now, and it was something that, like, kinda just fell into. I was good with people, didn't have a strong, like, background in anything educational. Truthfully, was a terrible student. Um, but I always had this knack for, like, there's gotta be a better way to do something, in any part, personal, work. Like, I've always found the most efficient way to reduce my input, but generate more output. And I think that's what I've been able to do with AI, and it just clicks for me. There's a sense. I was talking to our, VP of RevOps, and, we were laughing because I did a presentation on one of our all hands on, like, my workflows, and I was like, I never thought being the kid that, like, cut corners and found efficient, like, cut corners, like, quote, unquote, cut corners usually has a negative denotation. I never thought that that would become valuable in my career. But, like, in this day and age, cutting corners is 100% like a skill that people need because it's a true way of finding efficiency. So, I hate to say, like, the answer is, like, that's just how my brain works, but I've always been that, like, this is not efficient. I hate doing work twice. I hate, spending time on work that I don't need to be doing that's not impactful. So, how can I cut the corner and make it as easy as possible for me?
That is super cool. So you got your whole team, onboarded with, using what was working for you. What do you think would surprise you the most about how others at the company reacted when they first see what you were doing?
Yeah, oh, it made my hair stand up because we actually literally just had, an experience the other day. One of our CSMs who was on that, the one presentation I gave on our all hands saw how, I use the prompt to get the content from my slide or my slide deck, and then I take that and I just generate a slide using Gamma, which if you're not familiar with
I
Gamma
am.
app, yeah, it's a slide generator. You can essentially prompt and it creates beautiful slides. That's how I do all my gem libraries. I even use it for like our golf tournament. I've created a website for our golf tournament, which we get way too into, which is hilarious. Another story for another episode. But she saw how I was using Gamma and she presented on our most recent call that she found a way to create a slide or a presentation using like one of our landing pages. So you can just import a URL and create a really nice customer facing presentation on our API
I did not
and
know
make it
that you could do that.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was like and she gave me a shout out, which was really cool, totally unnecessary, but she's like, "I watched this and it just the light bulb went off." It's like, "I can use it for these presentations and make them so much easier." And then what's nice is you could take that presentation and put it into, our tool PandaDoc, and now you have all your document analytics and see where the customer's at and what they're viewing and what they're spending the most time on. So it was, like, really cool. It's like, I didn't have any one-on-one conversation with you. You just saw this presentation and you've went and found a way to, improve your workflow, improve how you show up for your customers. Like, that's so cool. Like, that's such a big win that you see the ripple effect, right? So that was a really cool moment.
All right. Uh, See, we're talking all about, all good stuff about AI. I want to talk about the frustration which comes with AI not working. I'm pretty sure you've had some of those, spending hours and hours, and it's like, it's just not getting it, and then you don't want to shift to other LLM because you've already spent so much time with one. Tell me more some of those experiences.
Oh gosh.
There's so many.
There's definitely there's yeah, it's like PTSD. I've gotten in arguments with my LLM. Sometimes where I put my Facebook relationship status as it's complicated. No, I just think, complexity-wise, it's really hard, right? When you look at my level of expertise, like I said, I'm not an engineer, I'm not a developer, so I try to get the most out of an LLM that I can. I think when let's take, for example, like the forecaster gem that I built. When we first started forecasting, it was a pretty detailed exercise. There were a lot of steps. There were a lot of considerations, a lot of places that data stood that we had to view and, pull together. If I was some sort of coder developer, I could probably code something, Python, whatever, and connect all of those objects together, right? And, create a script for us to pull that information to make it much easier, but I didn't. So I had to go back and forth with AI a lot of times and get it to get the output that I want. And it was hard because AI is not human. And I think that's what people see AI as, like replacing humans. But it's so important to have the human in the loop element to it's never going to get the true like conditional logic. I mean, we got it to a really good point, but there were so many times in that building that it's like, no, you're not getting it. Like, I'm going to pause. We're going to take a break and I'll come back to you tomorrow and you better be ready. Like, like that's how I converse with AI. Like people, if you saw some of my chats when I'm building, you're like, what's wrong with this dude? It's hard. It's hard, but you know, in the end, it makes it worth it because now that forecaster gem, it accounts for all of our different quotas across segments. It accounts for quarterly reps. It accounts for monthly reps, and you can do one screenshot, give one little prediction, and then it generates your whole walk up and, you know, percent to goal in 2 minutes. So it's like, it's definitely frustrating. And sometimes you feel like giving up, but you know, I think it's best when you can just take a break, pause for a second, come back fresh and think, okay, let's start. These are the problems we're having. I've had instances where I've taken a prompt. I've noticed over time it wasn't like generating how I wanted it to. I said, here's a good response. Here's a bad response. We need to shore up that every time we get the good response. So it's really just being collaborative. It's really using it as an assistant to help you get what you need. I think if you're frustrated, the best thing you can do is feed it more context as far as like, why are you frustrated? What responses are bad? What don't you like about this response?
Tell me something. I mean, you said earlier that AI can be a co-seller, but most reps are just using it to, write emails or doing basic stuff. One, I mean, I have a two-part question. Number one, what do you think they're missing? Second, what all is possible? Like, given a seller, I mean, you just talked about a couple of use cases, like how you can use Gamma, how you have solved the forecasting process. I mean, imagine if you were a seller today. Where would you start? Of course, by one is admin work. Find out where you're spending time. Solve that. All right, that's done. Now, as a seller, in order for you to be really, really successful, where would you start?
Good question. I don't want to give too in-depth of an answer, but like you push it to its limits, push AI to its limits, make it a copy of yourself, understanding that it's an expert in whatever you need to train it to do. Of course, the prompting comes in handy in that. But for instance, like, we often have difficult pricing conversations when it comes to renewal. Could be a change like on our end as it turns to like license structure, pricing, etc. Like those aren't easy conversations. So it's like, okay, again, I don't want to ping my manager every time I need to strategize a deal. I don't want to spend a lot of time just crunching numbers to try and figure out what makes sense. Let's create a deal strategist gem. Here's our pricing guidelines. Here's our rules of grants of authority document. Reference this document, go through the, current scope, what my goal is on the renewal, and help me come up with 2 creative proposals that I can present and instruct me if they need manager approval, they need director level approval, or if it's within my approval bound based on the pricing knowledge you have. It's trained on that. So then I can take that and it generates like the proposals, it gives me the ideas, and then it also frames the win-win and how to communicate it to the customer. And like people could say, well, that's not you doing the work, that's AI. It's like, well, yeah, but I'm feeding AI the context. It has the context into why I want to present this. It's using my knowledge and my expertise on how we typically approach these. And then it's crafting it in a way that's like, all right, we can get creative and offer this as a win-win. And since I've started doing that, the receptiveness towards like proposals when people see a price increase or just the way that framing works, it makes that conversation go so much smoother. But the pure beauty of like using these gems all together, even if negotiating, another shout out to Superhuman. I found a Chris Voss call prep, which is Chris Voss is a famous FBI negotiator, right? A lot of great tactics in his book, Never Split the Difference. It was a prompt. It was like, hey, prep for your calls using all of Chris Voss's tactics. I use that for so many of my deals just to get the framework of like the conversation down so I can label appropriately. So I can do like the accusation audit to reduce like the guard that the buyer has, right? And what's so nice about combining these is essentially for every deal, you can continue the chat. And just whenever an action takes place, whether it's an email or something imperative to the deal, you feed it to AI, and now you have an assistant for every single deal with all of the context of a deal that can help you navigate the deal and make sure that like the customer's heard. We understand what the problem and challenge is. This is how we're going to communicate it. This is how we're going to show ourselves as a true partner. It's come in handy so much to have all these chats saved. Like, that's what I say, push it to the limits. Like, it is your strategist for every single deal you can go through.
I mean, that is bringing me so many questions, but I'm going to just stick to one. Have you developed, let's say, any custom prompt beyond the call prep that work particularly well for your sales approach?
Yeah, the Deal-Strategist one, where it
Mm-hmm.
gives me like creative proposals and like to work through and get to our goal and frame the win-wins. Business case builder. How important are business cases to buyers? I mean, obviously you have to be a good sales rep to do good discovery and get some of those qualitative metrics, right? Like qualitative metrics, business cases, they're going to help build momentum. So we have a complex deal. We sell a configure price quote tool. Um, and it definitely involves a lot more stakeholders. It does, you do have to present sort of ROI to get the buy-in because it's a premium price product, right? CPQ isn't cheap. You still have to do the good discovery, but what I can do with a business case builder is literally feed it like any context, call transcripts, emails, whatever it is, so that it can pinpoint like the specific challenges, how we're going to resolve them, what's implementation going to look like, the qualitative metrics, and show the napkin math of how we got that. Put that into Gamma, and then now I put that into PandaDoc. I'd have a business case in 5 minutes. And I just did one yesterday. I had a great call. It was like 40 minutes long. Customer was interested in CPQ. They weren't a buyer. They didn't have authority. He was a great coach, still is a great coach. But we walked through a lot of the qualitative metrics. And I was like, hey, I'm going to develop a business case for you, and we're going to work side by side on it. I'll send it over to today. 40-minute call, 8 minutes, 10 minutes later, after I got through some editing on the presentation, I had a business case. So it's like, that's been extremely successful too. And I've used that multiple times in these more complex deals to multi-thread, say, hey, we've been working with your champion. This is what we've uncovered and how CPQ can solve it. These are the metrics we're looking to solve for. And it's been very well received. So again, AI is there to empower you, to make you a better seller, not to take your job. I think people are fearful that AI is going to take sellers' jobs, but we still need sellers and people to be on the empathetic side, to have that human in the loop, to do things only we're qualified to do, while we can delegate some of the work to AI and just improve and level up our skills.
This is definitely something, I don't know, I've learned so much already, and I did not know, for example, about the Gamma thing. That's definitely new for me. I've heard of Superhuman, but I don't think so. I've subscribed to their newsletter. They sponsored my newsletter, but I think I've not. uh, I know they have a million. Yeah, I mean, I know they have like 1 million subscribers. I did look at probably one of them. I did not know that it's that good. I'm pretty sure if they have 1 million subscribers, like you said, it has to be that good. Okay, let me ask you a question. I give you $10,000 and I say, hey, build your dream co-seller.
Oh.
What's a first feature you would ship?
It's an agent that's triggered like daily, looks at our calendars, pulls out like the specific calls we have. So we'd have to be very dictative as far as what we name our meetings, but based on the meeting title, pulls the right prompt, uses AI to prep all the work that's needed for that call, so that when I sit down at my desk in the morning, my whole day is already planned, research, created, and then I just show up and execute that like agentic workflow. That's the first thing I would build.
No, that is amazing. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm trying to solve something similar on my own. I think I found a tool. I'm forgetting the name. My co-founder sent it to me. So what it does is it actually just records everything you do. So if I'm on LinkedIn, let's say for 2 hours, it'll probably record that. How much time did I spend on LinkedIn? And at the end of the day, it's going to send me a report. That is how I can do this. So I'm not probably as disciplined as you are, where I'll be honest when I'm writing what I'm doing with my handwritten notes. So I would rather trust the technology. And I think this is something which I always thought of. Hey, why can't somebody just observe me, maybe look at me what I'm doing, and then go from there. And I think what you said just makes so much sense. Are you close to building anything by any chance?
Yeah, so I made an attempt at building a Zapier agent to do something similar. It couldn't make it as robust as I had intended. There's a lot of nuances to it that, you need to do appropriate, like, webhooks, etcetera, which I have some experience with, but, like, it was more just, like, it wasn't conversational, which I think is hard for someone who's, no code, not a developer. Like, I could really only get an email response back, which it worked. It didn't trigger from my calendar, but it triggered from, like, a form fill. So I wanted to make it as easy as possible for our AMs to pick which gem they wanted to use instead of going to, like, a wiki site, copy and pasting, saving the gem on their own. I wanted it to just trigger based on the gem they need. So that was the intention, like, form fill, trigger, here's the transcript, the human inputs that, and then, like, it generates a response email. But the problem was, like, one, it wasn't really part of our Zapier plan, and I didn't wanna increase PandaDoc's bill. Um, two was just like, yeah, it was cool. It was like, I'm glad I experienced it and went through just the building process to learn on my own, and I was, satisfied that I got it to a point that I did, but it just wasn't good enough. But that's the only experience I have so far. Then I have a few other workflows that I helped my wife build for her company in the early days through N8N, that were helpful in, like, social content, analyzing the engagement and, generating a social calendar. So,
Tell me more
um,
about that, because I have an intern, believe it or not, who is working on the same problem right now
yeah,
for me, where he's creating basically. So I told him, I want to write content, but I don't want to manage the content. And at the same time, I need ideas from people who are already posting content and their content is getting engagement. So I would want to maybe see at scale what is working. So I would want
mhm,
to emulate that. So he's creating something similar to what you just mentioned. Maybe,
yeah.
we can exchange notes later.
Yeah, for sure. It was
Mhm.
her goal was to just analyze her engagement on her
Okay,
post, like what's been best and when's the best time to post,
sure.
etcetera. The hard part was really, like, LinkedIn, like, in terms of service, you can't really web scrape. So there was, like, some manual upfront data entry,
I'll tell you a
from,
way. I'll tell you a way.
oh, secrets. We'll
Yeah.
speak offline on that.
Yeah, we'll speak up.
Um,
There are
well, I
ways.
wish I knew that earlier because I spent a lot of time just, like, going through her data and inserting into a spreadsheet. But then from there, I set up a Native workflow to automate, like, the data collection and then putting it into a Google Sheet that, pivot tables were set up to show, like, what type of content has gotten the most engagement, what's the subject of, like, what's the topic that's gotten the most engagement, what time, days, the best to post. And then we didn't get to this stage of it, but then using AI based off that said, all right, hey, I have all this data, we need to build out, like, a content calendar. And we were going to build it out through Notion, and just connect it to AI at that point. But we didn't get to that point. She had some other priorities that took place, but it was pretty cool to see in the end, like, some of the content and data that came from that project. She's found a really good source. We were trying to do it one day. We had a infamous AI day. We were trying to use N8N to, create an RSS feed of, like, her TikTok and repurpose some content for LinkedIn using tools like HeyGen, where you can create your own avatar, script it, record your voice, and then everything's AI generated based off, like, your script. But N8N was down for, like, 3 hours. So we didn't get to setting it up, but, we had some lofty goals that have since, taken a back seat, but I hope we dive into it, another
Were you
time.
able to achieve the good results with HN?
We didn't get there. We didn't get there just yet. She started using it. She picked it back up. I think the other day she was creating, like, her actual avatar and prompting it with her voice and stuff. It's wild. Some of the stuff out there, like, beyond my expertise is wild. I had an experience. I had to schedule a plumber to, replace our hot water tanks, and, I had to schedule an appointment, and halfway through the scheduling call, I realized I'm talking to an AI voice agent. And I was just, like, floored. They had background noise, like, it was in an office, so it made it seem even more real, and I'm just sitting there and I'm listening. I was like, "I know this is an agent." Like, if you listen to this call, you'll hear my pauses because 'cause I'm just like, "This is incredible," and I didn't know how to respond. The next day, someone else called me, from my network, and I hadn't touched base with them before, and called me. I picked up the phone, and I was like, is this an agent? Like, it's just like, it's wild how real that it sounds, and now it makes you kind of question everything.
Yeah, I mean, I've been told the similar thing when I cold call people are like, "Is this an AI?" Because people are kind of used to it. And believe it or not, I'll not talk about the name of the company. I was part of this incubator recently where one of the co-founder is actually currently working with a company. It's an insurance company in the US, and for their support, they have created different voices. So when you would call from California, you will get a Cali girl. If you call Texas, you will get a Texas accent. So they have done that to that extent, and it's amazing. You'll not be able to recognize it.
Yeah, that's what I mean, it's scary, but it's amazing at the same time. Like, I couldn't tell you, like, I almost was speechless on this call. I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is like, do I wanna ask it if it's in a bot and see how it responds? Like, no, I don't. I wanna just have a human conversation with this and see how it goes." And I was floored. And then, like, the wheels started turning. I was like, "Oh my gosh, what if you were a recruiter? What if you're a recruiter and had your own recruiting call agent to do, like, prelim calls? This thing could just host calls for you all the time while you're sourcing, you know, new candidates." I Dude, the possibilities, that's what's so fun. That's what's so exciting about this time is, like, the possibilities are endless. And like the CEO of NVIDIA, it's like, it is the great equalizer.
I agree, and I think big fan of the guy, no doubt about that. I think my founder keeps sending me his reels, short form videos all the time. And yeah, I think he's amazing. Thank you so much, Jim, for being on the show. I learned so much. I'm pretty sure everybody who's going to listen or watch this is going to do the same thing. We are going to include, when we launch the episode, we're of course going to launch with your prompts, with your prompt library, either on our website or your direct link. Where can people find you? How can people connect with you?
Yeah, really LinkedIn, Jim Petrolla. You can find me on LinkedIn. That's where I'm most active. I don't really have any other socials. I keep it pretty simple. But yeah, really happy to be a part of this. When you told me about it and like what we're trying to accomplish, and you know, simmered my fears about some imposter syndrome and like why we're doing this. I think it's a great plan you have, and just happy to be a part of it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I personally believe you should consider maybe teaching how to use AI.
Yeah. I spoke with a CEO before, a founder, and we talked a little bit of strategies. Like, how are you voicing this? How are you teaching others? It's like, I don't know. I'm not, because I am a little nervous. Like, I'm just prompting. Like, it's nothing special. But I think I've become more open to sharing the knowledge with the broader group outside of just like my PandaDoc team.
That is amazing. I mean, I just have enough idea. If you want to think about this, I've been toying with this idea for a while. So anybody who is signing up on our website right now is getting access to these prompts. We're going to put your prompt there, like all the good prompts, which we are able to test and verify how these prompts work. We're also thinking about, can you put together like an academy, free academy for everybody, where people can just come and, just watch videos of Jim, let's say, working on a particular prompt or creating that prompt for that matter. I don't know.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've thought about that. I think what's always been hard for me is like so much of what I do for prompting. Well, one, it's like specific to PandaDoc. Two, it's I have to use a lot of customer data to get like the output. So I'm trying to figure out a way, like, how can I think one thing I've done to make one public facing video was like put the data that I do put into the chat, like anonymize it through AI so that it just labels like any customer names as like customer and then my name as sales rep. So I had to think of a good way to do that and how I want to set that up. I think once I have that framework, I would be more than happy to do something like that and collaborate.
Sure. Yeah. No pressure. I mean, just an idea. I think it'll definitely hit it well, especially given the fact that, you're already well versed with video creation, audio creation, the content creation overall. I think it could just hit it off. I mean, I know so many people. By the way, it's all offline. Let me just
Yeah,
switch
yeah.